You all want me to put black cops and black commanders in black neighborhoods. And that's segregation.
I think what we're suffering from in our community is a leadership problem that wants to act as if all of our issues and all of our problems are a direct result of the Chicago Police Department.
And it was remarkable to see these hardcore kids. All of a sudden you see a couple of them with a little, tear running down their face because they all knew somebody who got killed.
All of them. There are people who build their policies around profit. And
Snake oil salesmen.
Absolutely. And until we eradicate the system of those individuals, we're going to continue to have to fight on both hands.
Yeah. Well, hello and welcome to episode 8 of Wearing the Badge. I'm Garry McCarthy, and this is my friend, Pastor Corey Brooks. He's kind of a unicorn. He's a Southside preacher.
Yes.
And a Republican.
Yeah, that's definitely a unicorn.
It's definitely a unicorn, but I'm proud to call him my friend. I first met Pastor Brooks when he was on a rooftop.
Yes.
And he wasn't ready to jump.
No.
But I did respond, and I remember looking up at him up on the rooftop, and I waved, and he waved down, and he said, "Hey, Superintendent, why don't you come on up?" And I said, "No, I'm okay down here. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you." So, Pastor, tell us a little bit about yourself. Little background, and then we're going to dive into a couple of topics that people are afraid to talk about, quite frankly.
Yeah, so I'm on the south side of Chicago. I pastor a church called New Beginnings Church of Chicago. Our church is now coming up on 25 years of existence. We've been in the Woodline neighborhood now for about 17, 18 years. We created a non-for-profit called Project H.O.O.D. H.O.O.D stands for Helping Others Attain Destiny, where we focus on violence and poverty and creating programs to help people have opportunities to transform their lives, and then help in hopes that it help us to transform our community as well.
And that's a neighborhood that needs a lot of help.
Neighborhood that needs a lot of help.
Parts of Woodlawn are beautiful, and other parts really need a lot of help. And it's funny, I wanted Pastor to come on so we could talk tonight, because I know that he and I can have a frank conversation and walk away being friends no matter how it goes, which you can't do with a lot of people, quite frankly. People get very, very, I don't know what the right words are, but they kind of go into bunkers and they argue rather than have a conversation. And I want to take on a topic that really vexes policing, and it's race.
Okay.
And race, as you know, plays a major role in everything that happens in virtually any urban city across this country, certainly here in Chicago. And, you know, I always enjoyed talking about it publicly, and I would do it at community meetings on the south and the west side. And they were so much fun for me, because I would just get up and relax and talk, and I'm a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
And I would talk about the history, and I would say, you know, Chicago's a segregated city, and black audiences talk back to you. Right. And they're like, "That's right." Yeah. And then I would say things like, you know, redlining, segregation, Jim Crow, all of these things, slavery going back and back. These were black codes. These are all things that African Americans have been subject to.
Absolutely.
And we have to somehow figure out how to have a rational conversation, the recognition and not denial of those things actually happening.
Right.
And figure out a path to move forward.
Absolutely.
Right. And the thing that I really enjoyed about those meetings was I would kind of trap the audience in that while they're getting all revved up while I'm talking about all those things, they're like, "That's right, you say it, tell them." And I would say, and segregation is bad, and so on and so forth. And then I say, but then we insist on it, don't we? And there would be an audible, "huh?"
Yeah.
out of the audience. And I would say, you all want me to put black cops and black commanders in black neighborhoods. And that's segregation. Because the thing that we need is exposure. We need people to work together to get to know each other. Otherwise, you're just going to point fingers.
Absolutely.
And at the end of those conversations, because we would have conversations, they would say to me, without exception, that nobody who looks like you has ever spoken to me or us like that.
Right.
And it's kind of like a breakthrough, if you will. And, I think that that's a much bigger conversation that we have to have, not just here in Chicago, but across this country.
Without a doubt.
And just opening the door, Pastor, let's talk. You tell me what you think about those concepts. And, obviously there's a lot of problems. We're going to talk about gun violence. We're going to talk about the disenfranchised neighborhoods. And there's a thread that runs through this that needs to be recognized, probably at the beginning of this conversation.
Okay.
And it's something called legal cynicism. And legal cynicism is a social norm that has it that the disenfranchised communities that are overrun with poverty, hopelessness, lack of economic opportunity, no jobs, poor education systems, poor health care, no mental health care,
Yes.
right? Alcoholism, drug abuse, crime, all of those things that vex those disenfranchised communities kind of come together in this legal cynicism where the community doesn't trust the law or the law's agents to provide for the public safety. They are unwilling, unresponsive, and unable to provide for that public safety.
Yeah.
If you're looking at drug dealers outside your window every day, and we come by and we pick up a bunch of drug dealers and they're back the next day, that's a failure of the system.
Absolutely.
Now, that system involves prosecutors, defense attorneys, judges, right? Courts,
Yes.
corrections facilities, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But what is the most forward element of that system? Who's in people's living rooms? It's the police, right? So it becomes focused on the police, and it's kind of like giving it up to God that we can't do anything about it, so we're just going to tolerate what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's not cool.
Yeah, not at all. I think we see that a lot on the south sides and west sides of Chicago, where people are very cynical of all the systems that have been put in place. There's a high level of distrust when it comes to the police, when it comes to the legal system, mainly because people have, as you said, have given up hope, and they've given up a lot of themselves to find themselves in situations where they feel left out and left behind. And as a result of feeling left out and left behind, someone has to take the blame for that. Someone has to get the distrust, and who better than those who have been put in our community to bring safety, the police.
Yeah, and don't forget the historical aspect of this, which is, segregation, black codes, Jim Crow, was all enforced by who?
Yeah,
The white police.
Yes.
Right? The white police. So there's a well-founded basis for this happening. And, look at the issue of mass incarceration and what it's done to the family unit in the African-American community.
Absolutely.
Daddy's gone.
Yeah.
Daddy's in the penitentiary. And mommy's raising 3 kids and working, and grandma's taking care of 5 others all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, people say we have to somehow rebuild the trust. And I think according to the things that you just mentioned, there never was a level of trust. When people look at the fact that Jim Crow and the black codes and all the systems that oppressed black people at that time, and then the police, mainly, as you said, who were white, reinforced it, there never was a level of trust. And so now here we are in 2025 trying to say, how do we fix this trust? And I think we need to just scratch that whole notion and say, hey, how do we establish relationships so that we can move forward?
I think that it's absolutely correct. And what I like to say is you can't reestablish something that never existed in the first place.
Definitely never
Right?
existed, yeah.
And whoever says that was the case is not telling the truth. I'll put it that way. I can't say it on TV, right?
I felt it. I saw you wanted to say it. I was like, oh, no, please.
So how do we open those discussions? Because people get very defensive. And there's never a discussion. There's always an argument, right? And people are pointing fingers, right? Yeah. And I just want to be clear about it. All the things that are vexing the disenfranchised community, can be affected by good government. Putting the right resources in the right places, doing the right things. I think that there's some fleecing that goes on with that.
Without a doubt.
Some people get funding and basically
Without a doubt.
don't spend it on what they're supposed to be spending it on. And I think other people talk about it and don't do it. Rolling up your sleeves and getting down and dirty and getting into it with people is the way that we've got to do it. We've got to have these discussions. Like I said, I would have it those community meetings. Man, I had so much fun doing that.
Yeah, we have to have them. I think, we're living in a time and a place where people are afraid to have dialogue. But I think
got to be real careful what you say.
I think
that's not a problem that I see.
Yeah, I think debate and dialogue should be the order of the day. We're never going to fix the issues that we seem to have, whether it's race issues, economic issues, education, whatever, if we don't have discussions. And with somehow, some way, we have allowed this new way of thought to make us think that having a discussion about issues that are touchy should not be something we discuss. But I think if we're ever going to be better as a people, and if we're ever going to be better as a city, as a nation, we cannot avoid these discussions. Everybody is not going to always think just like we think. But the goal is for us to have a meaningful discussion, a meaningful dialogue, so that we can come to some understanding.
Yeah. And recognition.
And recognition.
I think the recognition is really where it should start. But again, I'm a history nut. I love history. I read. My wife used to make fun that I used to bring history books to the beach when we were on vacation, and that's what I was reading, not a magazine or a newspaper. But it starts with the recognition of what the problem is, how it got there, and then we could start talking about ways to move it forward.
Yeah.
But there's too many raw emotions, and, we've all been subject to it. And I just want to tell you that, guess what? I've run into bad cops.
Yeah.
I've run into bad cops.
Just like I've run into bad preachers. I don't think there's a field that we can talk about where there are not some bad apples. Sure. I tell people when they talk about, there are some bad cops. Absolutely, there are some bad cops, but there's some great cops. There are some awful lawyers, but there's some great lawyers. There's some awful preachers. And I think we have to start recognizing that one police officer does not speak for all the police officers in the nation. And of course, there are going to always be a few bad police officers. But over and all, the majority of police officers are hardworking individuals who love their families, love God, love America, and they just want to get home safely, and they want to do their jobs the right way. And I think we have to start realizing that and just stop blaming everything on a couple of bad officers.
The fact that the mayor has taken away ShotSpotter blows my mind. There's a body count that's being kept online where right now there's 46 people who died from gunshot wounds that would have been caught on ShotSpotter. I grew up in a blue-collar neighborhood, cops, firemen, plumbers, electricians. Mm-hmm. But in the Bronx, you go outside a certain area and guess what? You're in danger. Yeah. And, bad things happen. Bad things happen frequently. When I think back on it, it's almost like an acceptance of normalcy. That's going to happen. We live in the Bronx. Well, it should still be unacceptable. And one of the things that I found disturbing when I got to Chicago, when I was in the NYPD, one of the things that worked really well for me was the fact that I spoke Spanish. Okay. And with the name, I got the name tag McCarthy. Yeah. And here I am listening to an argument in Spanish, making believe I don't know a damn thing about it. And one time, and I worked with a big Irish guy named Jim Malley who didn't speak any Spanish. Right. And one particular time during the argument, the guy says, "Voy a buscar mi cañón," which means I'm going to go get my gun. Mm-hmm. And he left the room. And at that point, I hadn't opened my mouth. Right. And I turned to my partner and I said, when this guy comes back, we're going to have a problem. And he did. And he walked right into this, right? We didn't have a problem.
Right.
Because everything was cool. But the NYPD did not discriminate. They put black cops in white neighborhoods and white cops in black neighborhoods. It helped to be able to speak a common language. So there's something different with the Latinos, right? And the Hispanics, which was good. But when the NYPD, one of the worst scandals that they had was the 7-0 precinct, which is where Adna Louima,
I remember.
was the Haitian immigrant
Yes.
who got sodomized with it wasn't a nightstick, it was a broomstick in a precinct bathroom by a couple of white cops. And when I initially heard it, I said, that did not happen. No way, no how. Well, guess what? I got assigned to clean up that place. And, it was number 4 in the city, 76 precincts. Number 4 in overall crime, number 2 in robberies, number 5 in homicides. I mean, it was a busy crime precinct. And now all of a sudden we had this community relations problem with the white racist cops abusing this black man in the bathroom. And they didn't send a black commander to the 7-0 precinct. They sent me. And it never occurred to me that they should have sent somebody else. When the police commissioner called me in, he said, Gary, I need you to go to the 7-0.
Right.
And I said, yes, sir, whatever you need. And as I was leaving, he said, oh, by the way, where do you live? And I told him, I live up here, boss, and the 7-0 is down here. It's like you got the string out and made it as far as it could. I had to go through 3 boroughs to get there. One day it took me 3.5 hours to get there. But I got to tell you, it was one of the most rewarding assignments of my career. So here I go to Newark, right? And you want to talk about race.
Tough place.
Newark is hardcore.
Yeah.
And I muddled my way through it. I took hits left and right for being a white guy. And then I come out here and we're talking about, Chicago. I mean, this is a major city. This is a major police department. We should have major forward thinking. And what I find out is you got to put black cops in black neighborhoods and black commanders there too. Now, the funny part of this, which you and I can laugh about now, is I gave the pastor a black commander. And the next thing I know, they're in a boxing match in my office. I got to call it off. And, we made a joke about it recently, and we could still laugh about it now. But back,
We don't want to say his name.
no, we're not going to say his name. But the bottom line is that's not always the solution.
No, it's definitely not.
And you know what I did, and that's when I started trying to break down the walls. And at the same exact time, I put Leo Schmitz in Englewood.
Yes.
And Leo Schmitz was the first white commander in Englewood since the early 60s. And I took Jimmy Jones
Yes.
from the South Side and put him in Edgewater,
Yes.
the lowest crime precinct in the city. And the best part of that story is the guy from that district, the 20th district, retires. And the local alderman gives me a call on like Friday afternoon. He's like, hey, boss, my guy is retiring. I need another commander. And I was like, it's funny that you just called because I just picked the guy. He's going to be up there next Monday. I said, I got the best guy for you. And he's like, oh, that's great. I can't wait to read him. I said, I'll have him give you a call when he gets there. And as I hung up the phone, I said, guess who's coming to dinner?
Right. Yeah, I know, right? I would have loved to have seen his face when it all went down.
But I got to tell you something. And by the way, Jimmy Jones, I believe, I was told, was the first black commander north of Division Street in the history of the Chicago Police Department. Now, I don't know if that's true, but people
I can believe it.
I can believe it too, knowing what I know now. And the ironic part is when Leo Schmitz got to Englewood, there was a community activist whose name I won't mention, held protests.
Yes, I remember.
Holding protests because a white commander was going to a black neighborhood. Isn't that racism?
Yeah.
Right? And by the time Leo left, they protested again because they wanted him to stay.
Yeah.
Because he was that good. And Leo went on to lead the Illinois State Police, and he's the chief of the Cook County Sheriff's Police. for years now. He is cop through and through, and he doesn't care if you're white, black, green, orange, or purple.
Yeah, he's just a great cop.
He's a great cop. So, and Jimmy Jones, mind you, in the lowest crime district in the city, led the city in percentage crime reduction, which the lower the numbers get, the harder they are to reduce. When you got, massive numbers, if you just take 5% off, you're killing it.
Right.
And he led it with the lowest numbers in the city. So both of those guys succeeded. And I was like, okay, see, we can do this.
Absolutely.
And then it snapped right back.
Yeah. I think anytime you keep making decisions on race, we're going to always end up with some bad outcomes. Mm-hmm. I think so many times people want to see equal outcomes, and it's impossible. Equal outcomes but what we want to create are equal opportunities for everyone to have an opportunity to do the best job they could possibly do. And you moving Leo Smith to Inglewood was not about race. It was about
my best guy in the worst
best guy in the worst spot.
Yeah.
Who over the years has turned out to be exactly that.
Yeah.
And everyone can testify that Leo Smith is a top cop.
And so Jimmy Jones.
And Jimmy Jones.
Jimmy Jones blew my mind because I saw him he was a laid back dude. And I saw him as, just a cool, nice guy. And all of a sudden, he starts getting into the game when he was in the 5th district. And the guy was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was like, this guy needs to have a district. Well, guess what? That's the one that opened up. Yeah. Here we go.
Absolutely.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
So here's where I want to kind of, so I guess the discussion is the first step, but there has to be a recognition and an acknowledgement as to what's going on and what's practical. Everybody talks about the police and it's their job to reduce crime. Mm-hmm. Well, that's simply not true. We can reduce crime in the short term, but until we fix the social issues that exist in disenfranchised, the neighborhoods that are overrun by crime and all those things that we talked about, it's not going to stick.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. But I want to talk a little bit about the perception and the reality, and I'm going to throw out statistics, which
Let's do it.
I apologize a little bit for, because over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to really spend a lot of time understanding and interpreting statistics.
Okay.
And right now, this is in 2023, crime stats for the United States of America in the post-George Floyd era, and I'm the first person who can tell you that that was horrible.
Yeah.
That occurred. And I don't care what George Floyd's background was. How that occurred is beyond me.
Absolutely.
And not in the least way acceptable in any fashion. In the post-George Floyd era, black youths across the country are 100 times the rate of whites getting shot. 100%. And on the other side of it, more than 90% of the time, the offender is also African American.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the black-on-black crime that we used to talk about frequently, which I haven't heard a lot about in recent history. I don't know where that went away. African Americans aged 20 to 24 die from gun violence at 24 times the rate of Caucasians. 24 times the rate. And more than 90% of black murder victims were murdered by a black offender. So this brings me to where I kind of want to go as far as what the police can do, what we have been doing, and the way that it's moving now. The defund the police movement that started probably before George Floyd, but really accelerated after George Floyd, in my mind, is just simply insane. The fact that the mayor has taken away ShotSpotter blows my mind.
Absolutely.
There's a body count that's being kept online where right now there's 46 people who died from gunshot wounds that would have been caught on ShotSpotter where the police didn't respond. We don't know if they would have survived, right? I need to say that. But that response would have been faster in every one of these cases
Yeah,
if ShotSpotter existed.
absolutely.
And that's a resource that, based on what we're talking about, would be saving Black lives.
Yeah. Yeah. We need every resource available to help save lives in our community. The fact that in 2025, we had to have a discussion about Black boys being 100 times more likely to be murdered or to commit crimes is unfathomable. The fact that we're not discussing it everywhere and trying to come up with solutions is even worse. I think what we're suffering from in our community is a leadership problem that wants to act as if all of our issues and all of our problems are a direct result of the Chicago Police Department or in other urban areas.
No, all my fault.
Yeah. And we have to have leadership in our community that stands up and says, listen, these are tough topics. We hate to discuss them. We wish that we didn't have to, but the truth of the matter is that facts don't lie. Mm-hmm. And these are the facts. And we have to decide either we're going to deal with the facts or we're going to continue to sweep the facts underneath the rug. And so many times we've had leaders who don't want to air our dirty laundry out in public. But until we do, we're going to continue to see the vicious cycles of violence, of murders, of crime that we see consistently in our neighborhood.
Recognition is the first step towards reconciliation.
Yes, it has to be the first step. We have to recognize it, and we have to be willing to talk about it.
During my tenure as superintendent, and I believe it still holds firm today, that less than half of 1% of the shootings in the city of Chicago involve police officers.
Yeah.
I want to build on this topic, and the thing that goes along with this that may blow some people's minds is during my tenure as superintendent, and I believe it still holds firm today, that less than half of 1% of the shootings in the city of Chicago involve police officers.
Yeah.
Less than half of 1%. Now, mind you, every year that I was superintendent, we reduced crime while we reduced police-related shootings. That didn't matter when the politics got involved. They wanted a pound of flesh. Somebody's going to pay for it.
Exactly.
Rom said, it's not me.
Yeah.
It's him.
It's all you.
It's all me, right? But you know, and I'm not taking credit for this, but this is a fact. So I got fired in December of 2015, and the next year, 2016, there were 283 more murders in this city than there were in 2015.
Yeah.
And in 2013 and 2014, we had the lowest murder rates in this city since 1964. That increase from 15 to 16 is a 63% increase. And we already talked about who's dying, right? So did that actually serve the community that was most concerned with the race issue and the politics of it? You know, LaQuan McDonald, terrible incident.
Right.
I can't justify it. I can't justify what the officer did. You know, in my police career, and I've been involved in probably at least a couple of hundred gun arrests, I never once fired my gun. One time I thought I did, and I had to check it. And thankfully I didn't, because I would have hit somebody who was not involved. And that would have been, I would have been the headline.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really important. The other thing that, just talking about data, just today, and I saw this 2 years ago, if you go on the police department website and go to annual reports,
Mm-hmm.
it goes all the way back to 1964, but it skips from 2011 to 2017. Oh, wait, that was my tenure. Isn't that ironic that the best numbers in the city somehow are not on the city website? Anybody who's watching this, go right to annual reports, CPD website, and you'll see it yourself.
Yeah.
So that boggles my mind, because to talk about not airing your dirty laundry, that's right about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So the reasons for the gun violence are the issues that we need to get to. We can prevent it with data, right? And the innovations that Bill Bratton and this guy Jack Maple did in New York City when I was there, and I eventually took over the shepherding of that crime strategy for 7 years, my last 7 years, has to do with data.
Yeah. I can remember early on in your tenure, I was a big fan of yours from the very onset, from the very beginning.
I didn't feel like
Yeah, no.
I didn't feel
I was one of your biggest supporters, and I would let you know I was one of the biggest, even through the Laquan McDonald thing. I think you had to take the brunt of that, and it never should have been given to you. There are others who should have burdened that reality. But two of the things that I learned from you early on that I still use to this day, it was the first time I had ever heard of the broken glass theory.
broken windows.
Yeah, broken windows theory, about cleaning things up and make sure things are right. That was the first time. And I remember, I think it was at Loyola Law School, you had an event where you invited people, and I was one of the only pastors in there, and you were talking about identifying these people who were most likely to be shot. And not only did you want to identify, you had the data that could tell you that these 400 individuals in the city of Chicago are likely to be shot or commit a crime. We have their names. We can give them the resources that they need. And it was unbelievable for me to see that you were not getting the support that you needed when you had all the data and you had the names of individuals that you wanted. And your main thing was, look, I'm not trying to arrest these 400 individuals. I want to see, can we help redirect them? I want to see, can we get them resources? Can we get them in trade school? Can we get them in school? Can we get them educated? But you were having a tough time. But I thought that was makes so much sense.
What's fascinating about that, and I wasn't going to bring that up, is that was a program that was a non-enforcement strategy that was headed by the police department.
Yeah.
And what we would do is we would find the members on that 400 list who were on parole or probation.
Yes.
And as a condition of their parole, we would make them come to a meeting.
Yes.
And at that meeting, we would sit them down, and there were 3 presentations.
Yes.
There was me from law enforcement, and my message was real simple. I don't hate you.
Yes.
I don't know you.
Right.
I don't want you to commit crime. I don't want you to die. I want you to become a productive member of society. Mind you, I don't mind arresting you.
Yeah.
Right? I would do that. I will do that. Right? And that was the message from law enforcement.
Yes.
And then there was the message of pain, which would come from one of the parents of a murdered child. And I'm sorry you lost your godson. We should talk about that.
Appreciate it.
And the mother would give a presentation about what it did to her life. And it was remarkable to see these hardcore kids. All of a sudden you see a couple of them with a little, tear running down their face because they all knew somebody who got killed.
All of them.
And it was called one handshake out.
Yeah. Exactly.
If their friend got killed, one handshake out, they were just as likely to get killed as their friend who's already dead. And then the third presentation was a guy from the Safer Foundation who was a former penitentiary guy who was in for a long, long time. And this guy was unbelievably good. And he worked with the Safer Foundation to offer resources to get them alcohol or drug rehab if they needed, get them driver's license or IDs, which they didn't have, which meant they couldn't get jobs, right? Get job training, all sorts of things like that. They would go right to the front of the line. That program we were able to determine had about a 30 to 35% success rate. So that when we got 100 of those kids in a room, 30 to 35 of them were going to go in a different direction.
Absolutely.
And it was disbanded after I was fired.
Yeah.
Okay. But
and I picked it up.
Did you really?
I used it. I used your information. I use those exact principles to this day. You know, I try to go after the guys who are likely to be shot or likely to commit a crime and do those same 3 things all the time.
That's good stuff. I'd like to come and see that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll jump in the game too.
We need to call it the Garry McCarthy.
No. The guy who actually came up with it is a guy named David Kennedy. From John Jay College in New York City. David's an interesting guy. Really smart and eclectic. Let's put it that way. But that's not the only strategy that went by the wayside. We already talked about ShotSpotter. The one that blew my mind was the gang database.
Yes.
Now, if we're going to figure out who, when, and where crime is happening so we could get there and prevent the next shooting, we have to know who they are.
Definitely have to know. I think that the whole gang database, let's talk about that, because I know there's a lot of talk in our neighborhood on whether you should or shouldn't have it, but I would love to hear your perspective on just your thought of the gang database, why it's so important.
Okay, so here's why it's important. When Corey Brooks and Garry McCarthy are both Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? And Garry McCarthy gets shot, when we find Corey Brooks in the opposing gang's neighborhood, Corey's got a gun because he's going to do retaliation. So when they know that I'm a Red Hot Chili Pepper, we know who they're in conflict with. As soon as we got the information, which was instantaneous, because we put everything in this enormous database, we identified all the gangs, all the gang members that we knew, right? And there were different ways to identify them, which became the issue, right? All the gang turfs and all the gang conflicts, because the retail was happening within 4 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So we would get to those spots and we would pick up the guys from the other gang in the other gang's territory and prevent the next shooting.
Yeah.
That's why it's important. Now, the complaints were about civil liberties. We're violating people's rights by being in there. I don't think anybody was ever harmed by being in the gang database. We don't open those books to employers who are looking to employ somebody. So nobody called and we said, no, you can't hire Corey Brooks because he's a Red Hot Chili Pepper.
Yeah.
That never happened. But guess what? It was eliminated because of politics.
Yeah.
What are we doing? We're defunding the police. We're taking resources out of the community. We're shutting down resources that we know work. I took that model from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Charlie Beck, who sat in these very chairs, a very close friend of mine, 9 years, the chief of police in LA, and we would confer all the time. We'd exchange data. We'd talk about different things that worked and how to do it. And I took that straight from LA. Guess what? Wildly successful.
Yeah.
No, get rid of it.
No, and it's successful, and I know it's successful because that's the exact same technique that we use at Project H.O.O.D with countering the violence in Woodlawn area. We decided, okay, let's hire some guys and train them and teach them in conflict resolution, mediation, train them on how to stop retaliation, get them from all the various gangs so that they can then identify gang members in their neighborhoods. We hopefully can train them and hire them. And then when things jump off in our neighborhood, we're able to get on it quickly because we know this group is in conflict with this group. So we need to get it to this group immediately before there is a retaliation. So the same principles that you were using as the police, we use those same principles at Project H.O.O.D. And that's how we've been able to, I believe, reduce the violence and the murders drastically.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all, because, you know, we do it from the law enforcement side.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's what the police do. It's called law enforcement. We enforce the law. Right.
Exactly.
But we also, with those strategies that we just talked about, we're giving people opportunities, which is kind of stepping outside of what law enforcement does, right? By putting together those things, by giving them a voice of a mother who lost a child, by giving them a talk from the chief of police. I don't hate you. I don't know you. How can I hate you? I just want you to be successful. And then having somebody who looks like them, talk to them in that fashion, you know it makes a difference.
Yeah, I think that's where we can have a marriage of the police and non-for-profits like ours that do that type of work, so that the police don't have to, they can do their job with the law enforcement and then allow us to do that social work type of work without taking police away from what they're called and specialized at doing. But at the same time, there has to be this marriage so that we can create an environment that is conducive to raising up a positive neighborhood.
That is exactly what I think.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that the police can only do so much about it. Yeah. We can't fix society's problems.
Absolutely.
But people expect us to.
Yeah.
Because we get blamed for everything. People always ask me, aren't you glad you're not in Chicago? And I'm like, no. No. It's almost like I was born and bred to do that job. If you think about it, and I don't know how we ever got to that place, but there are people.
Politicians. That's how we got to that place.
Thank you.
You know, there are people who profit off of these things, and there are people who make policies.
I was almost afraid to say it later. No, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to say it. I was trying to figure out how to.
So let's just say it. There are people who build their policies around profit and
snake oil salesmen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And until we eradicate the system of those individuals, we're going to continue to have to fight on both hands.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Pastor? I would like for you and I to make sure that we take some steps to hopefully move this thing forward.
Absolutely.
Let's see if we get some traction here. Yeah. Let's see if we get some traction from this conversation. Let's expand it. You know, I mean, look, people always ask me, aren't you glad you're not in Chicago? And I'm like, no. No, yeah. It's almost like I was born and bred to do that job, and I went through so many steps to get there. And think about it. I went up through the ranks in the NYPD. 3 different commands I had, you know, as far as precincts or districts, we would call them here. Then I went to Newark. I ran New York's crime strategy for 7 years, went to Newark, came here, and it was like, I'm where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. And no one goes through the 7-0 in New York and then Newark and then come to Chicago and does a great job without being at the top of their game. If you ever wanted to study about violence and crime and transforming a city from a police point of view, all they had to do is go back and look at the incredible job you did in Newark. And it was remarkable. That alone was a miracle.
It was Cory Booker.
Yes.
Cory got that.
Yeah, right.
I read a book where they had 5 pages. I'm sure he took credit. I read a book where there were 5 pages talking about the great job that Cory Booker did on crime. And I was like, wait a second.
No way. Yeah, no way. It was, I think people who really understand and who are aware understand the work that you did. And it's just unfortunate that Chicago did not get the benefit more from the work because of this one incident.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's the way we do things around here. You know, people say to me all the time, to this day, and we're talking, 12 years, 10 years now, I walk down the street and people are like, hey, McCarthy, right? Yeah. Man, you got thrown under the bus, just like that. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why do you think that happened? Well, because that's what we always do. And I say, well, how is that working out? They say, yeah, not so good.
Yeah.
The police superintendent is not in charge of the discipline system of the Chicago Police Department, yet he is accountable for their behavior. Yeah. If you're in charge of your kids, you're accountable for their behavior.
Absolutely.
But guess what? You have the authority to mold them.
You should have the authority and accountability.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, Pastor, we've only got a minute or two. I want you to brag about the things that you do and talk about Project H.O.O.D. Talk about your 94 days on the roof and walking across the country. Well, so you got a minute.
Yeah, but besides stealing all of your ideas and using all your ideas and making everybody think they're all mine, you know. But we run a great non-for-profit, Project H.O.O.D, H-O-O-D. H.O.O.D stands for Helping Others Attain Destiny. We focus on violence and poverty prevention. Our goal is to transform neighborhoods one neighborhood at a time, starting on a neighborhood where they call it O Block, most dangerous block in Chicago and in America. But we're totally transformed it. We kept the O. We've changed it to Opportunity Block. We're building a 90,000 square foot leadership and economic opportunity center named after Robert R. McCormick, where we're doing the trades, or we're doing trauma counseling, financial literacy, entrepreneurial school. We're doing everything we can to give a neighborhood a chance to transform. And so we invite people to come and check out our work. They can go to projecthood.org, projecthood.org, and they can find out all the wonderful things that we're doing to transform our neighborhood and to bring about change in the city of Chicago.
And 94 days on the roof?
94 days on the roof the first time. That's when you and I really became acquainted. And then, Ron was trying to make me come down after the third day on the roof, and he sent you. But thankfully you were helpful to convince him to let me stay up, and I appreciate it. And 10 years later, we needed the money to build the center after we had knocked down the motel. So I stayed another 343 days on a rooftop to bring attention and awareness to the violence, but also to raise the funds. And thankfully, after 343 days, we raised about $20 million, had over 20,000 new donors, and we broke ground, and that center is being built on the south side of Chicago. It's a phenomenal site. We're one of only 5 or 6 cranes in the city, so we're excited about that. Right in the hood.
And there's not too many on the south side.
Not at all. Yeah. Not a lot of buildings being built on the south side, and haven't been built in years. So we're excited that we're building over a $45 million structure. And our goal is to do it debt free. So we're really, and without a lot of government assistance. So we're proud of that.
And this way you can do what you want.
Absolutely.
They don't touch those purse strings.
We'll use those principles. Now we can find out the individuals who, what, when, where, and help them to transform their lives. That's what we're trying to do.
That's great work that you're doing, Pastor.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're legit.
Yeah, you have to come down and see how some of your principles are still at work, still alive.
I definitely will do that. Yeah. Every once in a while, when I'm driving through Chicago, I make sure that I hit the west and the south sides, and just see what they're looking like today compared to what I was doing when I was here. One of the things that I really loved doing was going on patrol, and I would do it virtually every Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it would shock the cops. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. In West Lawndale, and they're doing a car stop.
The Snoop is here.
Black car pulls up behind them with the lights on, backs them up, and they're like, "Hey, shoot, I'm like, "Will you finish the car stop and then we'll talk afterwards?"
Absolutely.
But that's where I had those conversations with people in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And those conversations, not just with the cops, but with the people who live there, including gangbangers.
Absolutely. Yeah, you talked with everyone.
I had refreshing conversations with all of them.
Yeah.
And the gangbangers would be like, "Can we take a picture?" I'm like, "No, we're not doing that, because I don't need exactly. I don't need me in the middle of a picture like that, right? That would definitely make the news. But being out there is the most important thing, and that's what leadership is about. And you're a great leader, because you put yourself out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's not just about other people doing the work and you getting the credit.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes.
Happens a lot of times. Most of the time.
Well, Pastor, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a blessing. We're always good seeing you, and
same here.
Always good talking to you.
Yeah. Let's grab some lunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that wraps up episode number 8 here. We've got a couple coming. We're going to do something a little different. We're going to do actually a 3-part series on the Safety Act, which, if you don't know about it, it's laws that were implemented here in the state of Illinois, where it dictates basically everything that the police do.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that kind of troubles me is the fact that, when a plumber comes to your house, do you tell him how to fix your pipes?
Absolutely not.
How about an electrician? You don't do that either, right? How about doctors? Does anybody tell doctors how to...
The specialists do their job. Yeah.
And it came to policing after it was already in gestation, shall we say. And it's really making it difficult for us to do our job. And, some of the things that people expect, telling us that we shouldn't be able to stop people for traffic violations. Well, what if they make a right turn and run somebody over, right? I mean, it's dangerous. There's reasons why you need a license and a registration to drive a vehicle.
Right.
And it's for safety. Some people shouldn't have driver's license. We just had an accident in Willow Springs where a woman at 1:30 in the afternoon with her children in the back, head-on crash, she blew a .31 at 1:30 in the afternoon. I mean, that's not okay. And if somebody had stopped her for a turn signal, they could have prevented that accident from happening.
Yeah. We're definitely living in a day and a time where they have made policing very difficult. And as a result, people are hurting because good cops cannot do their job.
Yeah. Well, this series is we're going to start with 2 legislators. We're going to have Representative Cam Buckner come on.
Good guy.
Cam's a good guy and a friend. And we're going to have State Senator John Curran come on from the Republican side.
Absolutely.
And they're going to have a discussion, not an argument. Because I'm gonna be like
guys that do it.
I'm gonna be between you and that commander that you had there. I'll make sure that
You saved his life.
I don't want to get between those 2 guys. So they're both offensive linemen at Illinois. I have my own feelings about offensive linemen because I was a linebacker.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
So stand by for that. 2 legislators. Then we're gonna have 2 prosecutors, and then we're gonna have 2 police chiefs. 3 separate episodes talking about how it got implemented, what it means to prosecutions, and what it means to policing on the street and crime in general.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. Thank you for watching.
Thanks.
Episode 8 of Wearing the Badge.